I'll be using acrylic paints in the colors Purple Pizzazz, Wild Grapes, Black, White, Jack-o'-lantern, Chestnut, and King's Gold. Feel free to swap the colors out with whatever you have on hand. Let's get started. We're going to begin by marking the spot where the top of our little guy's nose is going to butt up against the brim of his hat. Take a ruler, line it up with the top center of the canvas, and draw a short dash at the 8.5 inch mark. Turn your ruler so that it sits flat and even, like my belt used to before I had children, and then slightly lengthen that dash so it's more visible. Now it's time to paint. Load a wide flat brush with some white paint and coat the lower part of your canvas using a side-to-side paint the house motion like the old man made that kid do in exchange for karate lessons. Dip into the light purple and paint the middle section of your canvas using that same free labor motion. Then dip into the dark purple and paint the top portion of your canvas. If you like, you can paint the top, bottom, and sides too. Now go back down to the white and begin blending it up into the light purple using that side-to-side karate blocking motion. You don't need to reload your brush, you're just using the wet paint that's already on your canvas. Work your way up to the dark purple now. And then, work your way back down to the bottom of your canvas. See how nicely the background looks after the colors have been blended in? Unlike my hair when the roots have grown in. Next, I want you to step away and give your background a minute to dry. Go have a salty snack, which will only lead to a sweet snack, and then back to a salty snack. Or, do a load of laundry that you'll forget about for 2 days, and then we'll just have to wash all over again. If you have a hairdryer or heat gun, you can use... Let's wait while Little Bear makes his pillow more comfortable. Are you done? Okay. If you have a hairdryer or heat gun, you can use either of those to speed up the drying process of the painting, not your laundry. When your background has dried, remark your canvas with your pencil and ruler. Remember, your dash should be 8.5 inches from the top edge of your canvas. Dip a round brush, size 5 or 6, and mix the tiniest amount of chestnut brown into some white paint until you get a nice flesh tone color. Or, be smart and just use one of the many unopened bottles of flesh-colored paint sitting in the cart right next to you. Use that flesh color to paint a circle right beneath the pencil line. Fill in the circle until it is about the size of a quarter. A quarter is a coin that was once used to make calls in a phone booth. And a phone booth is a glass box teenagers used to go inside to call home to lie to their parents about where they were and who they were with. Next, grab a filbert brush, which is just a fancy name for a flattish brush with a roundish tip, and load it with black paint. Paint what looks like a coffeehouse barista's mustache above the nose. The ends of the mustache should stop about 1/2 inch from the sides of the canvas. It kind of also looks like the top lash line of an eye, doesn't it? This part is neither a mustache nor an eye. It's actually the brim of the little guy's witch hat. Reload your brush and paint a line that starts about 1/2 inch from the hat's brim down toward the lower center of the canvas. Do the same thing on the other side. Leave about a 1.5 inch gap at the bottom. This is the gnome's body. It's going to sort of look like that vase you recently broke and blamed on the cat. Next, paint a pair of gossipy whales in that gap. These shady little guys are actually his shoes. Don't put too much effort into the fat part of the whales because they're really not going to be seen under his beard. But do take your time and curl up the toes. This part of the shoes will be seen. Now reload your brush so we can paint on his arms. Paint his left arm, well actually it's his right, but on your left. Anyway, paint that one straight out by his side like this. And then paint his other arm like Beckham. This arm will be the one holding the broom. Next, draw on some wavy lines in his beard area. Don't reload your brush for this step, just use what's already on there. Try to avoid his nose, but if you do get some paint on there, it's okay because we'll cry about it later. Then, using the same brush, dip into your white and paint on some more wavy lines. You can see how the white picks up the black paint and turns it gray, just like 2020 did to every adult's hairline. Reload your brush with white paint and then begin making Hermione wand swishing motions so that his beard hairs swish outward on both sides like this. Continue adding layers of hair until the whole beard is filled in, or until the air fryer beeps to let you know your frozen taquitos are ready, and that they've oozed all the chicken and cheese out so that you're left with 5 piping hot tortilla telescopes. Then, take a liner brush, like a 0 or 1, and begin drawing in thin wispy lines like this. For the next step, you'll need your ruler again. Go to the top and mark the center point. Since the canvas we're using is 7 inches, the center point would be 3.5. If you're using a different size canvas, just cut it in half to figure the center point. Cut the measurement in half, not your canvas. To make our witch hat, we're going to draw a line from the center point we just made down to his brim, right where the outside of his shoulder begins. Go over to the other side and do the same thing. So we pretty much just made a slice of pizza, which I wish I had made instead of those taquitos. Next, we're going to draw a line for the ribbon around his hat. I'm going to make mine about 1.5 inches wide, but you can make yours as thick or thin as you like. So just hold down your ruler and draw a line from the left side of the hat to the right. Then, load a flat angled brush with orange paint, or any color of your choosing, and fill in that pizza crust area. Now take a clean brush and fill in the rest of your pizza with black paint. And heads up, if you're blue-black colorblind, you'll probably struggle to see the pencil line on the purple background. So much, in fact, you'll try standing to see if that helps. And when it doesn't, you'll stop filming, pull the canvas as close to you as possible, and hope for the best. Now, go back and add a second coat of orange to your pizza crust so that it looks like some sort of horrid pizza flavor collab between Domino's and Doritos. Then we're going to grab some more of that flesh tone and paint over our regrets, his nose. This will cover up all our little mistakes on the canvas. Our painting mistakes. Yeah, only those. Once those are covered up, dip into a bit of that chestnut brown and add some shading. Use a circular motion to paint a downward C shape in the upper left side of his nose, like this. Take that same flesh color and paint a ball at the end of his left hand, or the hand to your left. But first, make sure to forget to hit the record button so that no one sees how you did this, and thus believe that it simply appeared when you waved your magic paintbrush over it. We're going to put his other hand right about here, but first we need to paint on the broom. Load a clean flat brush with chestnut brown and paint a thick line going from where his hand should be to just past his right shoulder. Next, draw an upside down horseshoe and then fill that in. I don't know what this part is called, but I'm going to call it the broom's head. Unless we were at Hogwarts, then I'd probably call it the seat. Then, use the thin side of the brush to draw the broom's bristles. Use a fast downward swishing motion to make these. Dip that same brush into some King's Gold and add some more bristles using that same angry motion. Add a bit of gold onto the upper side of the broomstick and the head area to give it some highlights. If you happen to hear children screaming right about now, don't be alarmed. One neighbor is having a birthday party with a bounce house, and the other neighbor owns a trampoline. Grab your thin liner brush, dip it in black, and draw some thin wavy lines on the broomstick to make it look like wood grain. Then, paint some black wisps into the bristles at the bottom. Paint a bit of black on top of the broom's head and just under it to create shadows. Next, pick up your round brush with some flesh tone and paint on a second ball for his hand. The hand should go over the broomstick so it looks like he's holding it. Add a bit of chestnut to shade it just like we did for the nose. Load a thin flat brush with black paint and make his sleeves. Paint the right sleeve going slightly over his hand and let it droop down like Dopey's. Go over to the other hand and do the same thing. Then go back and add a bit more point to his shoes with your liner brush. They should hurt when he walks, like the shoes I only wear on Christmas Day. Or at least half the day. Next, repaint the brim of his hat. Paint the corners going slightly above the orange ribbon to give the illusion that the brim goes all the way around the hat. Then, using what's left on the brush, paint on some shadows to the lower right of the little guy's nose and just below his brim. The next few steps are completely optional, like writing your own vows. You can paint on a moon or leave it off, but if you want to paint a moon and are afraid you'll mess up the whole thing, I'm going to show you a little trick. Take a paper towel or toilet paper roll and paint the end 3/4 of the way around with white paint. Make sure to hold the paper towel roll so that it's not shown on camera or it's out of focus. Then carefully position the end where you want the moon to sit and gently press it against your canvas. Pull it away and you should have a faint moon or C shape. Take a narrow brush with white paint and fill it in until you have a crescent moon or whatever phase you want your moon to be in. Lastly, we're going to add some stars to our sky. Since we don't want any stars on our little gnome guy, place a piece of paper over him and his hat. Make sure he's completely dry first so not to smudge him like Sunday mascara. Then, load your brush with white paint and hold it over the purple area. Gently tap that brush with the second brush until you have a good amount of stars. Or until you break your brush. Well, all dumb things happen for a reason, so let me show you a little trick for cleaning up mistakes. If it's a recent mistake and not one you made 10 years ago, you can easily wipe it off with a baby wipe. That is, if you can find baby wipes. They've been in short supply ever since the apocalypse started, which makes me wonder how babies' tops and bottoms are getting cleaned these days. Anyway, go on over to the other side and do the same thing, but stop right before you break the second brush. Now, I really very badly want to go in and paint some actual 5-pointed stars on his hat. No, not the upside down devil kind, just regular stars. But I'm going to refrain from doing so due to the recent brush incident. I think my painting luck has taken a turn for the day, so I better get off the creativity train while it's nearing the station. But feel free to add your own hat embellishments like spider webbing or polka dots or non-devil stars or whatnot. When you're done, your painting should look something like this. Well, not exactly like this, unless you also ran to Walmart right before closing just to wait for a family to block the boxes of $3 Halloween lights for an ungodly number of minutes just so you can come home, stage this festive scene, and take this pretty picture. Well, anyway, here's our little gnome witch on display with our almost out of patience $3 Halloween lights. Doesn't he look great? See, you can paint anything as long as you break it down into simple steps.